Well, good evening, all members and invited guests present here. Welcome to this second masterclass of this KMA year. Before we start our proceedings, may I request all of you to close your eyes and pray to Almighty for a minute. Thank you so much. And once again, welcome to this masterclass session of KMA. Good to see that we have uh, a good attendance of all the registered delegates at 6 o'clock itself. And good to see that all of you are staying safe in these trying times. It's indeed difficult to plan anything in these uncertain times, be it our official or personal engagements, leave alone KMA programs. Thanks to Zoom and such online platforms, we have been pulling on in these new normal situations, and KMA too has been innovating for the past more than 10 months now. Since we started our activities in November, Professor, we have maintained a steady momentum and continuously try to engage our members in a slew of programs week after week. We had our inaugural event with none other than the top executive or the manager of our state, the chief secretary, coming in to set the tone. And we also saw the chairman of Life Insurance Corporation of India, Mr. M.R. Kumar, a Keralite, addressing us and receiving the top recognition from KMA, the Management Leadership Award 2020 on the very same day. Thereafter, we have had 7 leader talk sessions or the lecture sessions, as I've mentioned informally some time back, till now with eminent leaders like Mr. Naresh Kumar Pinisetti, Dr. Santosh Ranganekar, Dr. Shivarama Prasad, Dr. Vinod Chandran, Dr. Sandeep Krishnan, our brand new respectful Mayor Advocate M. Anil Kumar, and former diplomat Mr. Venu Rajamani, IFS retired, as the speakers. 2 panel discussions with our own in-house experts and other industry stalwarts, one on the statutory updates for business in COVID times, the changes which happened on the deadlines and such kind of things, policy matters, and the second on the concerns people had recently on the data privacy issues while using the popular mobile app WhatsApp. It was called WhatsApp at WhatsApp. We also had the KMA Women Managers Forum, very active forum of KMA, organizing another panel discussion with a very decorated panel of speakers leading a discussion on the topic glass ceilings for women leaders, a myth or a reality, as a first panel discussion from their side. And thereafter, last week we had a masterclass on, that's the first masterclass of this year, I must say, on digital marketing, led by a domain expert from Chennai, Ms. Aarti Srinath. We also had 3 StartCon sessions, an exclusively conceived panel discussion by our program committee chair, past President S.R. Nair, of startup entrepreneurs who made it big to share their success stories. The first one was with Mr. Sujit Bhaskaran of Gigsboard India and Ms. Fauzi Nizam of Cutie Pie Cakes. The second one was with Mr. Joy Sebastian, the recent newsmaker candidate of Manorama, who founded the online conferencing solution called vConsole, and Mr. George Sakria, who founded X Travel Money. And the last one, last week, was with Mr. John Matthew, co-founder and CEO of Riafi Technologies Private Limited, and Mr. Gis George, co-founder and chairman of Transsite Systems Private Limited. We've also seen the revamped and recreated KMA News magazine released by our editorial team for the last 2 months. I hope all of you like the look and feel of the new magazine. If anyone here has not seen or received the print version, and if you wish to receive the subsequent copies or even the last copies, please get in touch with KMA office to get your address included in the mailing list. Please remember to send your comments also, the feedbacks to the editor to help us make the magazine even better. Today we have the second masterclass of the year. This one for professional development being delivered by someone who has all credentials to dwell on the topic of the day, transition to the top. He has been through the hustle bustle of the corporate world, climbing the ladders there to the top, and then turning into academics and being the chairman of the Kochi campus of the IIM Kozhikode. The registrations and the attendance here show the relevance of such a topic as well as the expectations from the learned speaker of the day. On behalf of the Managing Committee at Kerala Management Association and all present here, may I welcome Professor Dr. Venkataraman of IIM Kozhikode to this masterclass. I also extend my hearty welcome to all the past presidents present here, members of the Managing Committee and Executive Committee, members of KMA and other local management associations, student members, members of the media, and all invited guests to this edition of our masterclass, Transition to the Top. So without further ado, let me invite our program committee chair and past president, Mr. S.R. Nair, to introduce our speaker and invite him to deliver his class as well as to moderate the Q&A session after his lecture. Over to you, S.R. You are not audible, S.R. Something wrong? You are muted. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, President Madhav. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take much of time to do any introduction of the subject. The subject itself is very self-explanatory, professional growth, transition to the top. Right now, I will introduce him and we will hear him for about 40 minutes. Then we will have question and answer and I will coordinate that. As far as questions are concerned, please put it to the chat box. I will acknowledge your name as well as ask the question to Professor. Okay. Professor Venkataraman, a faculty at Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. Professor Venkataraman is currently the chairperson of IIMK's Kochi campus programs. He is a PhD from IIM Calcutta and was visiting doctoral scholar at S.C. Johnson School of Business, Cornell University, USA. Before joining the academics, he was a senior director at CRISIL Limited. Over the past 2 decades, Professor Venkataraman has garnered extensive experience in corporate sustainability, business strategy, credit risk rating, credit analysis, business and franchise development, risk management models, and PPP frameworks, that is public-private partnership framework, for transportation and infrastructure development. Professor Venkat also has worked with TVS Suzuki Limited and BPL Group, and has completed a short training program at Harvard University in 1994 and Institute of Public-Private Partnership, Washington, D.C. in 1999. He has served as co-chairman of Bombay's Chamber of Commerce and Industry's Banking and Finance Committee, and as a member of the Knowledge Help Desk on microfinance rating on the World Bank's consultative group to assist the poor, which is otherwise called as CJAP. Professor, the stage is all yours. You could do the presentation, and when you conclude in 35 to 40 minutes, we will have the questions ready for you to answer. Thank you very much. All yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nair, for the very elaborate and kind introduction. And thank you very much, Mr. Madhav Chandran, and all of KMA for giving me this stage, for giving me this opportunity. There is nothing I love more than talking to a set of professionals. And this is something that is close to my heart. And so thank you indeed for giving me and giving IIM Kozhikode the opportunity to be here through me to share some thoughts on something which has been a topic which is close to my heart, right? So with that, let me just share my screen and then I will chat on. It should go on for the next 25-30 minutes, like you suggested. And from there, as directed by Mr. S.R. Nair, I'd be very happy to take questions. So give me a second as I go there. Is my screen visible? I hope so. All right. Okay.
Yes, it's done.
All right.
You can just put it in the presentation.
Sorry?
You can have it in the presentation mode.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just getting there. It should be good. So this, as a topic, myself and Mr. Madhav Chandran were talking some weeks ago, and we were thinking about what could be of interest. And as we talked about this sort of came on. And as someone who's been in the practitioner side for a long time, I would say, a rookie at being an academic and more of a professional, being the last 2 odd decades of my life. That's where I spent most of my career, I should say, and maybe my academic career is more or less starting. Having said that, this is something which has always been at the back of my head, and I always think myself as fortunate, having been able to do several things in my life. And during one of my MDP sessions, this sort of conversation came up, and there's more of an experience sharing. And what I have to share today is something that came out of that conversation and fine-tuned with my conversation with Mr. Madhav Chandran. So I hope that this is of interest to most of you here. Many of you here, I must acknowledge, and I can see that they're leaders par excellence, and talking to them as such would be taking coals to Newcastle, as they say, right? But I'm hoping that some of my younger friends here will be able to gain something. And before I start off, I should say that, don't take this as a magic wand. This is not like a set of steps that you do and hey presto, we are there. This is actually going back to something that I've grown with. I should say something born out of what I've been fortunate to grow with. I grew up in a family which put a lot of, I should say, premium on education, right from my grandfather and my father, my mother. If there's anything that they said, we should do all the time, stay focused on education. And I think if I have to, pinpoint something that I owe, whatever I've done so far, I would owe it to them. And I have seen my grandfather grow from very, very, I not seen him do that, but I heard his stories from him, how he made it from a very young executive to the general manager of a bank, a general manager in those days, I mean about 1970s. And I've seen my father through much of his career. And I know that he started life as a teacher, and then he was the managing director for a couple of companies, and I learned a lot from him as well. So what I have to share here is partly from what I've learned in a vicarious way from them, the stories that I've heard, and partly from my own life, my own career, in whichever way it has been, instructive for me, as well, I would say a few of my friends who've been with me, and I've gained from them as well. So some of the questions, which I keep hearing when I talk to a young audience is that, we talk about followership and leadership. When do we make the shift, right? And what do we keep in mind? How do we actually get there? What kind of priorities, what kind of traits do we need to develop, as to get to a leader? Now, we all we see leadership and leader as a sort of a holy grail. But I would say that, it's a journey all along. And many a time we will find ourselves being leaders, right from the beginning, right? So what I'm planning to do is to make it a little bit more, shall I say, structured, and make it a little bit more interesting and relatable to, especially to the younger audience here. I have put it something like this. I've segregated a typical career into 5 steps, an early career 1 and an early career 2. And I've tried to characterize them very briefly. What do I mean by these early careers, right? And then a mid-career phase. Again, there could be 2 steps in which one can see it. And whenever we think we are at the prime, right? So see, the thing is, today's world, there is no defining when one becomes a leader. There is no defining when one can become a CEO. Today, we hear about people who are CEO at the age of 12, young kids. In today's technology-driven world, there is so much that happens. So I'm not talking about the exceptions here. I'm talking about pretty much Aam Janta, right? And I think of myself as one who was an Aam Janta, and do the right things along the way, and pick up things along the way, do the right things by way of education or qualifications or skills, whatever you call it. So I'm talking in a very generic sense. So whatever I have to sort of share with you, please keep in mind that there are contexts which will always go beyond the general, right? So I'll try and paint a picture as to what I mean by each of these stages, and some insights which I have sort of collated, pretty much like a jigsaw puzzle, if you want to say that, and share some insights there. So let me get into it right away. And, early career 1, where you are a rookie, a beginner, right? And this could be your first job after your graduation. It could be your new first job. Maybe you left your first job immediately, or very short and then jump to another job. It could be that early stage of 1 to maybe 2 to 3 years. Now, these timelines I'm giving you are very, very approximate. But what are you at that time? You're typically a bachelor, sort of carefree. You want to learn everything that you want. And typically the life that you would face would be about long hours, maybe shift working, maybe late night working. These are some of the characteristics. You can also add a bit of partying and fun and whatnot. And I'm not going to be saying that be a party pooper and say, oh, no, no fun, all discipline. No, I'm not saying that. But this is what you might be facing, right? You're fresh out of college. You're not seen the inside of a company before, and this is your first chance at making money in a very nice structured way. You made your family proud, and you're getting there, right? So what do you do at this stage? And if many of you here are already past this stage, you can look back and see how much of this makes sense, right? So I'm just throwing a few nuggets here, and we will. I'll put something there which is sort of underlines what brings this all together. So here in this stage, I would say for everyone at this stage, throw yourself into work, right? As they say, keep your head down, nose to the grindstone. And this is something that I've often heard from many of my seniors. Nothing else but work. At this stage, the first few years of your formative career, actually nothing else really matters. There is family, and okay, there may be exceptions where people have to do a lot more. And so I'm again talking in a generic way. But by and large, nothing else really matters. You can party later, or you can party harder later, right? That's up to you. That's your choice. I'm not saying be a dull fellow, all work, no play. No, that's not what I'm saying. But be focused on everything that has got to do with work. Stretch yourself as much as possible, right? Welcome work. Don't complain. Oh, there is so much work to do. My boss is all the time stretching me so much. Nah, don't complain. Forget this term work-life balance, which has become so fashionable nowadays, right? I mean, in work, as I heard someone say, I think it was Mr. Suresh Narayan of Nestle. The good thing is to find balance in work, right? In your life, find balance. So it's not like balancing these two. I mean, whichever way you do it, find the balance right there, or forget about using the phrase and keeping that as a goal to work towards, right? But this is the stage where you can learn as much as possible, but you may not be able to get your hands onto everything. You might find that a colleague has got a more interesting project. That's okay. Learn by observing, right? Learn from them, learn from your friends. How do they do it? What are the challenges that they saw coming across them? And maybe vicariously you can pick up a few things. But beyond these hard work details, I think what I have seen help a lot of people are few soft traits, right? Being disciplined. Turn out very well, turn out presentable, be friendly. Now, this is a stage, we tend to make mistakes, or you might have a boss who has had a bad day, a bad hair day, as I said, and she may be, taking you to task, or she might be angry for no reason, you think, right? And one day you come into office and, she's shouting at you, or he's shouting at you, right? Now, immediately don't take offense, or some colleague riles you up, right? Says something very nasty. So I would say, beyond being disciplined and being presentable because, turn out well, people catch attention. It's good to be friendly, but not taking offense, being immediately angry and saying that, how could you do this to me, sort of thing, is avoidable. So if you can, don't take offense at all, right? At least don't take offense so easily. Be very, very patient before you let that last straw sort of break your patient back, right? Another thing which I have, somehow naturally did it. I'm not boasting, but it came naturally to me, was being polite, And you may be in a small office, you may be in a large office, doesn't matter. There are people always around you. You don't know what they've gone through, right? On that particular day, the previous day, what is going on in their life, we just don't know. So as a default mode, at this stage, I think it's good to learn to be polite. Always be polite. Very, very polite, and especially to your juniors, especially to your staff. Well, you're an officer. I'm just assuming you're an officer coming in. Somebody is a management trainee, you're a graduate engineer trainee. There are staff around. Be very nice, especially to the staff. This is where they start learning to look at you and say, hey, there is somebody here who can make it big, right? Another thing which I, have always valued is never to have what is called this chalta hai attitude. Chalta hai is like, It's a slang word I say for mediocrity. It's okay. It'll get the job done. We don't have to push ourselves for being excellent. You don't have to be perfect. See, there are times in life when you have to make a leap and not wait for the perfect moment, right? So there is that balance. But if you've been given a task, try and do it as perfect as possible. Not, it's okay. This will also do. Doesn't matter. If you draw a line, you're supposed to draw a line. Don't make it a crooked line. If you can take a ruler and do it well, right? This is a time, we've got new responsibilities, right? I mean, you are into a job, new things. As far as possible, listen. Don't Let's not try and have a big mouth at this stage. Talk less, listen more. And even if you've done a nice new things, even if you're in the middle of a lot of friends, extension of college life, it's good not to try and show off. We also come across situations where you need a mentor, right? And you may need to ask some help. I faced this situation early on in my first job after when I finished my MBA and joined this company. And I was reporting to someone who was at least a couple of years junior to me. And he was very brilliant, but he had a little bit of a, I would say, sharp edge. And it was a little difficult getting along with him initially. I always kept my cool, but some days it was getting a bit too much. I didn't lose my cool. I went and talked to another person similar to my immediate boss, and I talked to him as to find out how does one deal with this. And he didn't do anything. He just you know he was there for me to vent off my bit of frustration, so to say. And maybe he gave me a tip here, tip there. He said, it's okay, just focus on your work and these things will go by. This is a matter of time, right? It is not that he gave me a quick answer to do something, but sometimes you need to talk to someone. Don't take it upon yourself, build the pressure inside you, and then you might end up doing a wrong thing. Now, especially when we are, early in our career, you're finished a graduation, and you don't want to necessarily settle. Have some plans. What do you want to do? If you're an engineer and you are into a first job, do you want to do an MTech? Do you want to do an MBA? Where will it get you? What do you want to do ahead? What you've already seen a couple of things in an organization, and that is teaching you something. So how do you go ahead from here? Because you don't want to find yourself after 20 years that, hey, I should have done something. So to the extent that you can, to the extent that you can learn from others around you, try and do a bit of planning for yourself, particularly about career, additional certifications, qualifications, etc. So for me, the bottom line at this stage is learn and learn eagerly, observe very, very keenly. If you have to get out of this first 1 to 3 years with a label, I would say somebody should look at you and say, hard worker, nice kid, very sincere. That's what you want to get off from this particular phase of your life. You're growing now. You may be typically growing within the organization, or you could be outside. You might have skipped jobs. Doesn't matter. Nowadays, people don't keep jobs for very long. I see, right? So it may be a first stage of promotion. You're going from a graduate trainee to a confirmed engineer, or you may be going from assistant manager to deputy manager. Designations don't matter. It's a bit of an enhanced role. It could be a second job, and you're typically talking about 3 to 5 years, 3 to 6 years, right? What do we do at this stage? Diversify skills. See, you already learned the ropes initially. At this stage, it's great to sort of diversify your skills. Show initiative. There's a chance to work on a different project. Put up your hand. Say yes. This happened to me. I was in the ratings division, and a new manager had joined, and he was taken for doing advisory services business for CRISIL. And very nice chap, good person to work with. And I worked with him on an assignment. I was sort of inducting him in a manner of speaking. At the end of it, after a couple of weeks, he told me, Venkat, I'm going to be setting up this advisory business. Would you like to join me? And I thought about it, not too long. I talked to a couple of friends. So this is a time when you should keep your own counsel. Talk to people, but finally keep your own counsel. And I like this chap. Always look to work with people who want you, right? That's a tip I will give you. Rather than desperately looking for someone. When someone wants you, that's a good sign, right? So I said yes. A lot of my friends said, don't do it. Why are you leaving an established business and going and joining consulting services? But I said, I will learn new things. And I did. So yes, I did lose a bit of seniority in the process after 3-4 years, but I learned one hell of a lot. When I came back into the ratings fold after about 5 years, I think I knew, I can say, without, at the risk of sounding immodest, I would say that possibly people, myself and the people in my team whom we had inducted, possibly knew much better how to engage with the client as compared to people in the ratings business. So learn different things from different bosses. Another thing which is very important, you can see the stuff on the screen, so I'm not going to pick on everything. In the interest of time, I'm going to pick a few things. I've already highlighted a couple for your benefit, right? Be visible. See, in a company, especially nowadays, young companies, there will be meetings, there will be group. This is not the classic bureaucratic, heavy hierarchy company nowadays that you see. So nowadays, there'll be brainstorming sessions, there will be team huddles, and there'll be retreats and so on. Be visible. Always try and be logical, but don't be argumentative. And one thing that I've learned and learned the hard way is to ask a question. If there is a question in your mind, don't hesitate. Go ahead and ask a question. I always tell this story. It's a true story for me, right? We had a committee meeting analyzing reports, and so I was sitting in this room along with some 20 others, colleagues, analysts, and somebody was presenting about a company. As this team was presenting about a company, something struck me. Something which is curious and something which is not fitting. But then I said to myself, no, if I ask this question, I may look like an idiot, right? So let me keep my mouth shut. Believe me, 2 minutes down the line, the managing director, of course, sitting at the head of the table, he asked the same question. And that question turned out to be the turning point in the whole case. It started unraveling so many things. And then here I am thinking, shucks, if only I had asked the question, I would have been the star of the session. So it doesn't matter. Don't hesitate to ask a question, right? Be visible, but don't be visible for the sake of being visible. Don't do it, just to get some attention. But if you have a genuine thing, put it up. Sometimes you may come across as a fool or an idiot, or they should say that you should have known this. Doesn't matter, right? In the long run, it will help. No, you will keep learning at this stage, and you will do very well in many stages. But be humble, right? Don't get it go to your head. Staying humble is a very, very good thing, right? And there's always office politics around. Try and steer clear of it. Be trustworthy, right? When your boss asks something to do, when your super boss asks something to do, be a good team player. Don't try and look for credit all the time. This is also the stage I would highlight. It's a good time to develop what we can call a moral compass. What is right and what is not right. What is ethical, what is not ethical. We will come across situations time and again throughout our career, but this is the time when we start polishing our moral compass, right? Keep your counsel, take judgments from others, but there is finally nobody who can guide us except ourselves, right? And this is the time to start developing. And if I have to leave a tip, I would say, two, I would say, don't leave an opportunity to make your boss look good, right? When you make your boss look good, good things invariably happen. Sometimes the boss takes the credit and walks away. It's okay. No, don't worry about the results. Keep doing good work. So the lesson for me here in this stage of career, and this is a really, really formative stage, is be visible, but for the good reasons. People notice you. Take initiative. Always put up your hand and say, yes, I'm ready to do it. It may mean more work. It may mean a bit of extra time that you have to pull out. Be solid. Be dependable. That should be the tag that you should earn for yourself. We now move on to the mid-career kind of thing, right? You are by now a team leader. You are in the years 5 to 10 maybe. I mean, like I said, take it as it fits you. And by now you have to start handling employee appraisals, your team appraisals. You also start hopefully getting some client level visibility, maybe head a small business. So this is what I would call the first phase of your mid-career, right? And what do you do at this stage? I think the first thing, by the time that you are trying to, middling through this phase of your life, I think if you're not already there, start working on your listening skills, right? I already said listen rather than talk a lot. So soft skills, communication, because you're going to be dealing with team, you're going to be listening to them. Sometimes they just want to vent out a lot of things. So be very, very empathetic at this stage, and really good team leading skills start here. Inspire them, motivate them. You may have to do it being upfront. You can't ask them to do work and you cannot stay back home and have fun, right? So be a loud team leader, somebody who is loved by the team, but don't be so loud that you cannot take a hard call on them. You cannot Don't be so loud that you cannot, pull up someone if need be, gently, right? That you cannot give the right kind of appraisal. So always, start learning to keep that separation. Make your team look good, right? Somebody in the team may do better than you, doesn't matter. Give credit lavishly. But when there is trouble, you take the blame, right? It's about the team, it's not about you. This is also the time when I have seen people, in my past job, they come to me and start cribbing. This is not happening. Management is not doing this. There is always a problem at hand to resolve. I think this is the time when you start learning to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Don't have that. I use it without any disrespect. Don't have that union leader mentality here. No, be part of the solution. Yes, you have a problem, but what do you do about it? When you go to your boss or your senior leader, you go and say, this problem is there, but can we do something about this? These are the couple of things that we can do. So at least you come across as someone who thinks a little above, right? And someone who shows that you have the capability. The second thing that you typically find happening is, this is a time you already spend about, 10 years out here. People come and say, hey, Venkat, you can do this. Hey, Ravi, you can do this, right? I face this situation time and again. And people ask you to do things and you might doubt yourself. No, I'm not a person who can, sell something. I'm not a salesman or I can't do this. Handle this project. It's a little too complex. But trust, if others tell you that you can do it, if your boss, if your organization, whoever represented tells you can do it, take that leap of faith, right? I mean, I had got this huge project out of Africa, it came out of, I would say, serendipity. I didn't do really much about it, but I was there at the right place, right time. I did do a damn good job of putting together a proposal, right? And I sort of got it to a stage where somebody needed to negotiate. So I called up my managing director, Mr. Ravi Mohan at that time. He's no more, unfortunately. So I called him up that day and I told him, sir, this project has come through, so I want to share with you. Okay, he says, what next? He said, somebody has to go to Ivory Coast. It was African Development Bank. He said, somebody has to Ivory Coast and negotiate this. I think, okay, go ahead, fly and do it. I was like, who, me? How can I do it? This is big thing at stake, But that is the kind of course, you need to have a helpful boss as well, somebody who keeps that faith in you. So finally, in 2 weeks' time, I found myself on a plane to, Ivory Coast, one of my first negotiations. Of course, he also sent along the general manager along with me, which helped, and it turned out to be a good project, right? Sometimes, this is like in the Ramayana, when Hanuman has forgotten that his skills are there, that he can do whatever, so much fly across an ocean and come back in just one jump. Jambavanji goes and tells him that, you've forgotten your abilities and you can do it. It's something like that. But you don't have to be about forgetting something, right? Somebody can give you a faith that you can do it. It would be a family member. Just do it. There are risks involved. But if they believe you can do it, take it up. You might fail, doesn't matter, right? Invariably, it will work for you. Keep an eye on maintaining professional relationships outside the firm. See, to be progressing, it is not good enough that we are known inside the organization. We do need to be known outside, especially if you have client engagement. Start keeping that eye on, keeping a relationship with outside in a good way. I'm not saying in a nasty way or anything. An occasional call, an email greeting, right? And this has to be done on a non-transaction basis. So give respect internally, give respect outside. There may be nasty situations, but reputation matters. People, okay, this is a nice chap. This is a nice lady. She can manage things well. I can go to her and get things done, right? So at this stage, people start looking at you. Promotions don't sort of get gifted to you. You start recommending yourself for the next job, the next role. And that is really your goal that you should keep at this stage in life, right? Able, somebody who can get the job done. You moved on in life. You're now a business head, 10 to 15 years now, let's say, right? You're moving across verticals, maybe significant client interface, clients depend on you. And these are the sort of, situations that you find yourself in. Now, this is a time you have a larger team under you, right, to deal with. Help people grow, mentor talent, right? And I forgot to say one thing here, right? When I talked about, a team leader here, always try and take people who are better than you in your team, right? They may do better than you, doesn't matter, but try and take people who are better than you if you have a choice. And the same way, help people grow. You might find brilliant talent in your team. They may do better than you, doesn't matter. This is also the time, I think, and this is what makes a leader today, right? Being very comfortable with uncertainty, being very comfortable with unstructured situations. Life throws you a googly every now and then. Uh, Again, I know a friend of mine who sort of suddenly was taken out of his current project and sent to South Asia, right, Philippines, and he didn't know too much about what's to be done there and so on. But he had a very cool head, and he went and managed the project. And soon enough, over the next 2 years, he was managing a business across South Asia, and all because he said, "Let me throw myself into it. What is the worst that can happen?" Right? So when people see that you're comfortable with unstructured situations, it gives them a lot of confidence, right? And when you also learn to manage those people who are very sharp, brilliant, more brilliant than you, smarter than you, but you can manage them. You think leaders today are there. They're not the most brilliant of people, right? They have brilliant people who work with them. So this is the time you can start doing that, right? Take a little risk if you can. Be willing to take risks. Go out and try and get some things done. It's possible that you may lose a few things along. Doesn't matter, right? You will be richer for it. It has always worked for me. So one bad habit or good habit, whichever way, I think of it as a good habit. Whenever I've had a chance, I put up my hand. I say, let me do it. What's the point doing the same thing again and again? What happens comes next. Doesn't matter, right? Another key thing I would highlight here and move on is make yourself redundant. Don't make yourself so indispensable that nobody can move you out of your current project, right? Make yourself redundant. You make sure that the team is your team can do everything that they want. Then people will see you. This is a person who can actually make teams and make leaders, and he is someone who can then grow to the next stage, right? There is a risk in it. There is a risk that you might lose your job, but it's okay. It's a good enough risk. That means there is something else in store for you. Keep that faith and move on. So networking, I told you the earlier stage that you start, connecting with people. Networking is important. Networking, just keep in mind that it's not just about calling people and annoying them endlessly. Networking is about maintaining a relationship on a non-transaction basis. It means that you can't just go to them when you have business to get done, right? You have to talk to them during the year as well. If there is nothing on the anvil, you still talk to them. Meet them once in a while. You don't have to go out of the way. Leave something on their desk. When you go there and say, "Hey, we made this opinion piece. We did this analysis. It may be of interest to you." Good consultants do that. All consulting companies train their people to do that, right? Without business on the horizon, they make them do such things. They train them to do such things. So in this phase, mid-career too, before you move to the real leadership, outgrow your job. Show people that you can go ahead much faster, right? Own the terrain, own the problem, own the issue, be a full part of the solution, be a role model to others. So at this stage, you are the go-to person for anything. Okay, he's the person to go to, and that's really makes the mark for most people. Okay, that's from a case study I put in. So this is a stage when you are, having full P&L responsibility. The Raghavan is there because I took it from a case that I had written. You are a CEO or a CXO or almost there, right? You don't have to be there just yet. And this is a time, and especially in today's world, change is a new normal. How experienced are you by now? Maybe years, 15, 18. It could be younger, doesn't matter, right? It's not about age. It's about where you got by then. What do you do at this stage, right? Nothing. Take ownership. Ownership of everything that has come your way so far. You've been handed it, and it's for you to run with this ball, with all its complexities, all its problems, more of what you did last time. Engage, inspire. Building a culture is important, right? Because we cannot run an organization based on rules and procedures. You can only inspire people to do things in a certain way. Be ethical. How do you do that? You have to build a culture, right? And building culture is very tough. It takes a lot of time. It takes engaging with them. It takes telling them the right kind of stories. It means you're also on the front with them, and saying that when tough times are there, you're also trying to do something about it. You have to set the example. So you can't expect an organization to be ethical unless you at the front of things are being ethical, right? They need to see you taking the right choices, stepping away from the wrong choices, set the standard here, right? And this, especially when you have grown up and right at the top, this is a time when you will find a lot of ups and downs happening. Ups and downs in life, ups and downs at work. You lose a deal, you see a colleague, get ahead of you maybe sometimes, or somebody, who's gone ahead of you in some other part of a group maybe. So take the good or the bad. Every day, it's not about winning, right? So develop a balanced outlook in life. I like this tagline which Vipassana has. There is this old Buddhist meditation thing. It says, "This too shall pass," right? So yes, I know it sounds a little philosophical or Gita-like, but doesn't matter, right? But this is true. This too shall pass. Don't get too elated that you got a project, and don't be too sad that you lost one either. Stand by core values. Remember what I said about a moral compass? By now the moral compasses should be there, up and shining, right? Never compromise. We will come again, situation time and again. Absolutely step away from it. I don't want to get into stories that will be, but you will have enough stories there, right? It may be about taking that nice little vacation given to you by somebody. It may be something at the organizational level. See, core values are what decide. And by now you are the organization, right? This is what decides whether you will decide one way or another, right? And you are the decision maker now. At the same time, at a personal level, you owe it to yourself to, not make work everything in life. Read, write, however good or bad you are, read. Keep learning, keep sharing. And this is advice I'm giving you without I myself not doing it. I wish I had done more of that. Now I do a bit of it being an academic, right? But don't make everything about work in life, right? There is family, there is others. I don't think I've done that well, but every day I try and make a resolution to try and make it better. Someday I will get there. This is also the time when at some point of time everything doesn't. So remember, what do you do when things don't go your way, right? I told you that right in the beginning. Again, no magic mantra, right? Know when to move on. Sometimes, and hopefully, life has given you enough to be, taking that decision a little easily, right? Enjoy the work when you're at it. When you know that you're not enjoying it anymore, don't hang on for that little money that will come your way. Move on. I'm sure universe has a plan for you. So keep faith in your own abilities. Do your very best. It doesn't work, let go. It has happened to me time and again. And I think because I grew up in a sort of a fortunate household with me seeing this time and again with my father in very, very different sort of situations, I possibly learned it, indirectly, right? But I've seen others do it as well. Do the best. When you are at it, you are intense. Doesn't work. I know a friend of mine, very, very young friend of mine. He currently is in Germany. So for the last 4 or 5 years, he's been studying for IAS time and again, and he studies so hard. It's a wonder that he has never got through, and he gets through different levels. I met him last year when I went to Germany. Sorry, not Germany. He was in Austria, and he had just lost the final chance. He couldn't make it, and he cannot make it anymore because he's been time barred by now. And he was as cool and happy. He has left it. Doesn't matter. And I asked him, "How do you take it?" He said, "No, I tried my best. It didn't work. I'm moving on. That's it." And that guy is amazing, right? And he's, I guess, all of 30 or something like that, and not even 30. This is what that attitude gives you, right? It gives you that ability to, like a water off a duck's back, do your best when you're at it and move on, right? But practically, when I say let go, when I say move on, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? So it's good to be practical and build some personal financial resilience. Put up a little nest out there for you, for your family, so that you have the courage to be able to do something different, right? Um, and you can do something different, which is something you may not even have thought about. Maybe you will take a break from your career, go exploring the Himalayas. Maybe you'll write a book, and you may need to keep yourself from a regular engaged job like that. So that's what it would take at the prime, I would think, more than anything else, right? So these are a few things. I don't know if I have exceeded my time. 18:45. So Mr. Nair, Mr.
You're
Madhav
on,
Chandran,
you're on
I
the
hope I
dot.
haven't
No problem.
exceeded my part of the time too much, but I
You
would
have not. You're on the dot.
leave it here. Thank you for the.
Thank you, Professor Venkat. That was a very anecdotal as well as very lucid display of communication that you have done, and very straightforward and very simple. We really liked it. I have already seen 3, 4 questions on the counter, but let me start with 1 or 2 questions myself. Then I'll pick up those questions. Professor, it's like this: the millennials are seemingly different, okay, and the Gen Z is much more upon them. Now, there are instances I had seen, they don't, as you said in the career, early career 1 and 2, lots of learning is there, but they feel that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, that sort of a thing. So you said partying, of course you do, but then you limit it and learn more. That is one side of it. Another question that one has is, uh, many people are good, but they're not very career centric. If you really look at it, whatever that you have said, if one follows, I'm 100% sure that he will reach the Nadir, similar to what you have done. But you must have taken a call to get out of the corporate and come to academics. But you're in one of the named academics, so there is nothing you have not lost. But then many people, they are not very career centric. They flow with the tide, and they wither away. So what do you think of these people? What do you do with them as a professor now? What is your opinion about that?
Okay, that's a tough question because you've thrown different contexts at me, and from what I've given as a very generic sort of rubric, you're asking me to try and make it apply to some but I think it is a very relevant question. Thank you for that question. Right? Uh, Honestly, it is not. In fact, I should say that no, I wouldn't say I'm a most accomplished academic or something, or that I had planned my life. If you had asked me, uh, you know, 2 years before I took up my academic sort of adventure, and would you go for a PhD? I would have said to anyone who said it, I said, are you mad or what? Me and a PhD and a full-time PhD? I would say, no way. But circumstances happened at my work. I was possibly not enjoying it as much, and it could have been different things. And I talked to a few people. I talked to my dad. He gave me the inspiration, actually. And I said, let me take the plunge, right? And for the first couple of months, I'm using this example to come to a more generic, suggestion. So the first couple of months when I got into, my PhD program, it was tough. I had a fairly palatial flat in Mumbai, good salary. Here I am coming and I have to hold up in a small hostel room to begin with. I remember my mother visiting me and my mom and dad visiting me later on, and she was virtually weeping. You're staying here after all this, career you've done. No, she couldn't handle it, right? For me, it was a bit of an excitement. I said, I'm going 20 saal baad. I wanted the exact same room that I had as a graduate. The point is that first 2 months were difficult, and I threw myself into it, right? When change is there, I could have said unhappily, no, grumble about it. This is not what I, set out to do. So the lesson, if I had to take out from my own, life and extend it more generically to what you said, Mr. Nair, I think, see, change is sometimes forced upon you, and you have to face different situations. Even with millennials, it's not about partying or not partying, doesn't matter. But how do we take that change? See, what is right, what is wrong comes to us much later in life. It only in hindsight, it's like a risk assessment,
Yes.
which I did for many things in life. The only way you can say your risk analysis was perfect is after 5 years down the line, 2 years down the line. So the only thing we can do is you've taken up something, throw yourself into it, right?
Okay.
At least when you throw yourself into it, you will not have regrets. Tomorrow, nobody will come and tell you that you didn't give it your 100%. At least if you gave it your 100%, with all humility, then at least you know that this is not for you. So that's one thing I would say. See, millennials, I don't think we should be judging, and I should not be judging what they should do, what they should not do. Doesn't matter. They bring a different energy, right? So it may be about doing the work, getting it done. That I interview people, right, for when they get into their MBA, and I find that sometimes they're already in five years they held 5 jobs.
5 jobs, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Earlier yardstick, I would say, hey, you're not being loyal. Why are you like a rolling stone? But they say, no, this is a gig economy. I pick new skills and I'm good at it. I've learned in everything. And there is a part of me which I want to do different things in life. Nothing wrong in that, I would think. So long as we know what we are doing and we have gathered what we are doing and we're not moving because we are frustrated, I think it's okay.
Professor, one more question before I take up the question from outside.
Sure.
It is, see, most of what you said is, in your career also, I think you happen to have one of the finest of environment and the bosses, and you took the challenges and they gave you the opportunity to do so. But that is not the case with many of the corporates that we see and work, whereas every organization has its own politics. Some organization, it is very, very tough. And it is said that people don't leave the company, they leave the bosses. That's what mostly it is heard. They don't leave the company, but they leave the bosses, and we hear that plenty. So in a practical situation like that, what is your take on this when people leave the bosses and not the companies?
I think I should not be a hypocrite and say that, put your nose to the grindstone, whatever the boss is. I think, again, the same principle holds good. See, if you think that you are in the right place and, but you're stuck with the wrong boss, there are practical ways of going about it. You would possibly want to talk to someone else and say that, see, I like this company, but I think currently I'm facing a lot of difficulty. And if you've done good by then, others have this, which is why it is important to be visible, right?
Yes.
So I think some things, you're not being political, but you have to do something smart as well. So in the work that you do, without tom-tomming about, let it speak for itself. Let two people also know about it. But sometimes you might be stuck in a job where, there are no committees, others don't see you. I would go philosophical there and leave it to a higher force there. You may have to move on. If you have the facility to move on, you should move on.
Move on. Okay. Thank
I
you.
think that's the call one would have to take. I wouldn't be a hypocrite and say here that, no, keep at it, and then you might be one wreck at the end of it. No, you can't do that.
Thank you for showing that flexibility. Let me take the question from the audience. Prem has this question for you, Professor. In any stage of your career, when you are faced with an ethical issue on your way up, you are at crossroads. Following the ethics will work against you professionally. Is compromise or non-involvement a better option?
No, compromise is not an option. Non-involvement may not be a choice. You have to take a decision one way or another. It might cost you dearly, right? You may lose a deal. And I remember a deal that it was not a very, very great ethical decision. Unfortunately, I spent much of my time in a company which was very, very grounded in core values, right? But it was a very important deal. And, if we had agreed to a couple of things upfront, maybe, and I can tell you, it's basically about softly assuring them that they can get a good rating or a ranking, as they say, right? But if that deal came through, it would have meant about a 2 crore deal, one shot. We would not have seen that kind of deal ever, right? And it was my call to make at that point of time, because I would be the one doing the rating. There is a business development guy next to me. I said, no, we're not doing this, right? If I had got the deal, we had got 2 crores, I think maybe I would have been a hero there. Hero in terms of, turning the revenues over. Now, what I'm giving you is a very, very easy situation. It's not a tough situation, right? I think tougher situations, again, I will take a more realistic, pragmatic route and say that we have to see, finally, we have to live with ourselves.
Right.
So I think that's what the moral compass is. I didn't say follow a set of rules. I say follow your moral compass.
Your moral compass.
Yeah. So I think if you believe that you can live with that, and that is what people will not see, people should not, point fingers at you tomorrow. This is a kind of, ideally, we should avoid that situation. Okay, this guy has grown up, but he's done all kinds of hanky-panky, and that's what got him there, right? Now, sometimes you will do all the right things and they will still say those things about you, but doesn't matter. At least you know that you've not done it, right? So, yeah, I think
you are at least truthful to yourself. Okay, that's right.
Absolutely.
This question is from Rajan Guru Prasad. He's asking, what is your opinion on delegation versus walk the talk? There are instances of these to be done at different scenarios. What is your take on this, Professor?
I don't see these as conflicting. Delegating does not mean you're not walking the talk, right? Delegating does not mean that, if you remember, I think in the third stage or so, I said, you delegate, you empower your team, but if something goes wrong, the buck stops with you, right? When you're delegating, you're supposed to be delegating to the right person. You cannot say that, oh, I gave it to, I can take his name maybe. So I gave this to Bhupesh and I thought he would do a great job and he didn't do a great job, and I go and fire him because he didn't do a great, I may still fire him, but on the front of it, I have to take. If so, walking the talk is not conflicting at all with, delegating. In fact, we should delegate more. When you delegate more, your people improve. The risk is that they may improve better than you. People will see that, put them up to present. Don't take the credit and present for yourself, but step in if there is a, when you do a group team presentation, sometimes you make your next of team member to present, and sometimes you may find that the person is faltering. Step in, make sure that it's a team effort coming in, right? Sometimes that person might do a damn good job, better than you. I have had team members, all my life. Again, I'm sorry I'm making it about myself, but I had all the tough people in the company used to be coming to my group. Very cranky people, brilliant people, but tough to manage, right? At the end of the year, you have to give their appraisals. And I was not as brilliant as them, but I knew that I could take their brilliance and point out some practical stuff from time to time. Yeah. I had the confidence that I could manage these people with edges, right? So soft skills become more important here.
Indeed.
Yeah. Delegating doesn't mean that you shirk responsibility. So when it comes and the team says, I don't know how to do it, you have to roll up your sleeves and show them how it is done.
Yeah, when you delegate, the ownership is with you. You're only delegating, isn't it?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. This question is from Sarika Jeevan. She is asking, can you share your mantra to qualify an opportunity when it is presented to you? Very simple question. Can you share your mantra to qualify an opportunity when it is presented before you? And in the bracket she asks, and your organization or friends or family and you yourself feel you can do it, but it deviates from your personal goals.
Okay, this is a couple of more than two questions rolled into one, right? So let me understand the first question, Sharika. You're saying, what is the mantra to decide when an opportunity is thrown at you, right?
Yes, yes.
I will say that, see, at the core, you have to be a little selfish. At the core, you have to know that something makes you happy, and something looks exciting enough. Life has to be exciting enough, enough that selfish, but not so selfish that you put everybody else behind. Let me give you an example again. Again, this is, I told you about this friend who was sent to South Asia. He got this opportunity, and we had the same boss, and he got called one day and said, Anil, will you take up this consulting opportunity? It might mean that you have to do a lot more. He didn't think for a minute. He said, he was called by his immediate boss, not the super boss. He said, yes, I will do it, right? And so the immediate boss was so happy that, why don't you tell this to the MD directly? So he called up the MD. He didn't consult his family. Not a good thing to do.
My God.
Right?
Okay.
He could have done that.
Yes.
And but he did it because he was happy. But then he did a good job of convincing his family. Right? This is good for us. We can do it. What is the downside? And he made a damn good job. So I think at the heart of it, you have to see that this is something that you're going to be loving. You're going to be enjoying. Right? And I think if that is there, take the plunge. Because that will make up for many other things. The downsides are there. If you go there and you don't do a good job. I remember when I was sent on a project, my boss told me, do this job well and you'll come back with flying colors. Don't do it well, you're left holding a lemon, right? So those risks are there. But what is the second question, Charika?
The second question is actually an annex to that. What she was asking is, can you share your mantra to qualify an opportunity when it is presented to you? And she was asking, and your organization of friends or family and you yourself feel you can do it, but it deviates from your personal goals. That is the opportunity, you can do it, but it is actually at clash with your personal goals.
Okay. See, I think it's too contextual and hypothetical to be able to answer that. At some level, if you say personal goals is different, you have to be able to
right.
So it will be foolhardy of me to try and paint a hypothetical situation there. I have never found this thing called personal goals.
Yeah.
Honestly, what Mr. Nair mentioned, I've been a rolling stone. things come my way, I've taken it and run with it. It has always worked for me. And I always tell my students, go ahead, put up your hand and get it done, right? I ask them, for example, when I do a case study, there's a famous case study of a guy who came from Italy to India, Schindler's List, a guy called Silvio Napoli. So before I get into the case discussion, I ask them, any of you here, if you are given an assignment to go to Zimbabwe and head a project which can get into a whole of Southern Africa, will you do it? And you'll be surprised.
No
In a
hands
class
went
of
up.
60, there'll be hardly 5 people who put up their hands.
Yes.
You know?
Right. So let me take you to Raghu Vishnath's question then, Professor. Sir, my question is directly related to today's topic. For someone who is stuck at a position in their organization and unable to successfully transition from the mid-level to senior leadership, how does a program, for example, an MBA from a premier institute like IIM help in transitioning oneself? So you can actually do a little bit of selling also here.
Thank you, Raghu, for asking that. Raghu Vishnath for asking that question. I would actually separate the two questions. If anyone expects me to say that, oh, you're stuck in your job, do the IIMK MBA, and hey presto, the world is going to open up for you. No, I wouldn't say that, right? I think if we find ourselves stuck in a certain situation, you remember what I told in the first phase. It can be first to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. See, we choose certain things, and sometimes those things don't go our way, or things are going our way, but we find a lot of other things happening around us. We are not in control of everything. So I think it's good to take an honest assessment of our situation. What is helping others grow? If you can't learn from your own thing, you have to learn from others, right? What is helping others grow? And look at it both at a personal level, choice of organizations, choice of roles. Ultimately, if you're enjoying a job, you'll invariably do well. So something you have to do that. And IIMK MBA by itself is not a magic wand, but I can thank you, Mr. Nair. And thank you, Raghu. Let me take this opportunity. See, we have positioned the IIMK MBA because there are a lot of people who get into a career and may not have spent that time in the initial phase to think about an MBA, right? An MBA, there are MBAs and there are MBAs, but I think IIMs bring a certain brand of rigor, quality. It's not anything, it's not magic. It's about going back to the classroom and being able to relate with concepts that can help us in our job, right? It's not something that you wave under the nose of someone and say that, hey, I got an MBA, now I can do magic. No, it doesn't happen. So I think a good MBA helps you grapple with concepts. We have problem solving most of the time, most of us, whether you have an MBA or not. But if you are able to relate to concepts, relate to ideas, what others have done before us, I think it makes us think better. It gives you structures in which you can approach a certain problem more efficiently. That is what we try and do in our MBA. And this is the IIMK MBA, I would say, in Cochin, right? The Kochi campus MBA. It's a fantastic opportunity, even if I say so myself. Why do I say that? See, this is an IIM MBA, as good as any other IIM MBA, right? For people in Cochin, in and around Cochin, there are people who come from Bangalore and other places to attend this on weekend, right? It has got a very convenient format. Mostly weekend. If you want weekday, we have a weekday option as well. It's something that you can do while you keep down your job, right? You don't have to leave your job and do something about it.
That's a lot of value.
Advantages having an IIM MBA right at your doorstep. I think it's a great opportunity. But having said that, it is up to us how do we apply the learnings there back in your job, So that is something. Can I say something more, Mr. Nair, on this? Just take a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. At the cost
right now, I don't know if anybody
ahead.
Listening here would be interested, but you could tell your friends and relatives. We have our current second phase of our current cycle of admissions going on. So you will get some details in the KMA magazine as well soon. But just go to our website. If somebody is interested, the admissions are still open for the phase starting 2021 to 23. The last date is February. So have a look at it. I'm not saying you're going to do it, but look at what it offers. You may not decide this year to do it, but look at how this program is. Look at how other programs are. See if it fits you. I think it's a damn good deal. It's very affordable. You have to, spend 20 odd lakhs when you go to campus and do it. This is much, much better than that. So have a look at it. If it works for you, Raghu, I would encourage that you can tell your friends or yourself to do it. Thank you,
Great.
sir.
Yes.
Being able
This
to
is from TK Raman, corporate trainer. Thanks, sir, for your excellent inputs, but keeping professional relationship outside your own firm, how best can you elaborate?
Okay. Uh, there are many ways. It's one of the easiest things one can do, right? It just takes a little effort, sir. You
Yes.
know, again, in my earlier job, and this will be a typical situation that people in consulting face, people in manufacturing companies also, but it is important where you're dealing with clients outside to some level. Now, when we deal with clients, it is typically starts off on a transaction basis. You sold them something, you are servicing something, and let's say you've done a good job, right? But it doesn't take much more. It takes effort, but it's not too much to be able to ring up that person. Let's say you sold a machinery to a client, right? And the machinery is running well. Does it cost us too much? Again, I will take the liberty of using Bhupesh's name, because I know he cannot beat me up later on. I will. So if Bhupesh is the person who has bought my machinery, nothing is wrong. I know from my team that everything is going well. I would call him, 6 months down the line, 3 months down the line, and say, Mr. Bhupesh, I believe things are going well. Is there anything else we can do for you? It costs you nothing, right? Sometimes you may be going that way. Take the effort to, spend 10 minutes more, have a cup of tea. These are just simple things. Like I said, consultants do that a lot, because consultants are in the job of churning out opinion pieces and so on. So the non-transaction part is what is important. When you keep meeting clients outside of your specific job requirement, I think that makes for a good relationship. It doesn't cost us money. It only costs us maybe a greeting card. Nowadays, email can be fine.
Yeah. A WhatsApp message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, this is from Push Wade. Long question, I'll read it out to you. I have newly joined my father's business setup. While I am at it, I want to make sure that we do everything with discipline and not entertain the chalta hai attitude of my team. The problem is the team that I'm working with currently is one set up by my father, and they do not want to cooperate with me as I am the person who had just come in yesterday and also much younger to them. How do I motivate them?
This is a wonderful question, Push. And it's a very tough situation, I can imagine. I had a student in my a lady in my extended MBA class, and imagine she was in a what is that, earth moving equipment business.
Okay.
This is, you talked about KMA having done these glass ceiling things, right?
Yes.
This doesn't get tougher than that. Imagine a lady who has to go and sell earth moving equipment, contractors, construction people, and so on, right? And I was teaching change management. And she had a very, very tough time. First of all, her father herself didn't want her working in that business. Say that, no, this is not for you. And now you have come into the team, and then everybody in the team is looking at you just because you're father's daughter. I mean, your situation is partly, sort of evocative of that. I think nobody is going to give you respect just because you are your father's son. They may give you some respect. I think you just have to learn to be part of them. Bite the bullet, sort of be humble. Maybe a little bit of acting will help. Okay, if you know actually what is to be done, be a bit of an actor. Learn, pretend to be learning something from them, and genuinely learn something from them, right? And you might, sometimes fake it till you make it can work in this sort of situation. And I would also not be again too, ultimately you're the person who has to run the company. So there may be something good in what your dad has set up. So you cannot manage change overnight.
Yes.
So that is a very difficult thing. One of my friends says this: slowly catchy monkey. I like using that phrase. So you have to be a bit tactful at that. And I think sooner or later they will know that you are somebody who is one of them. Having said that, I will go back to the great guru of change management, John Cotter. If there is still, and you are doing the right things, and you're finding a lot of naysayers, resistors, well, you may have to ease them out, right? In the right way. At least you don't have to throw them out of the job. Put them in a place where they cannot do damage. So these are some things that, but you should set the standard.
That's
Chalta
right.
hai attitude you don't want, make sure that you gently put it in. Don't fire them, don't shout at them, but make sure that you lead by example there. That's what I would. That's what
I
comes
will
to
add
my
one
mind.
more word of a little more patience also to her, because
Yes, absolutely, sir.
yes,
Absolutely.
that's okay.
Because
Yeah,
we
go
don't
ahead, sir.
suffer fools easily. That
That's
attitude
right.
can be
That's
there.
right.
No, that needs to be there.
Last question to you, Professor. Uh, as a today's speaker being from IIMK, is there any program at IIMK which will help in developing business leadership skills?
There are some nice angels out there feeding me questions to market my organization. No, I would say there are a lot of programs. In fact, nowadays this is the age, like Dr. Nair mentioned, age of millennials. People don't have time. COVID has thrown us into a different, complete orbit altogether. A lot of digital programs are there. A lot of face-to-face programs will also happen once the new normal sort of settles around us. I think there are business leadership programs. There are programs focused on, orienting you towards managing, for example, artificial intelligence and machine learning applications in sales and operations and so on. In Kochi, we are thinking of, Kochi is such a vibrant ecosystem, and we would look to sort of KMA to help us out on this. See, this is an ecosystem where there are a lot of senior executives who might enjoy being in an extended classroom, not really a classroom, but where they're more of peers rather than, classic students and sort of a postgraduate diploma, like the Harvard AMP or SMP. We are thinking of those kind of projects in Kochi as well. And we would welcome your ideas. Tell us what you want and we will try and fit it for you.
You will configure a program for them, actually.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Professor Venkat, it has been very lucid. It has been very anecdotal, and you have been very, very humble in delivering that, and with a lot of core beliefs and the courage of conviction that you have shown in expressing all these things. I have learned a lot. Thank you very much. I am passing you back to Madhav. Now it's Madhav's show.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Venkataraman. I must say you are the perfect fit for a masterclass on that topic for KMA, especially for KMA, because you had the perfect mix of both sides. The corporate side or the working class style, as well as the academic. So you mixed both in a very very exotic mix, in the sense the blend was really good and very systematic and structured way of presenting it too. By classifying the different age groups into, or rather the age group of the professionals into various slabs, and then explaining it with your own personal examples. Every time you had an issue there, you were actually quoting your own personal examples or your friends' examples, and that was actually hitting the bullseye, I must say. So it was really a lucid presentation, as SR rightly said, and of course the question answer session was also very enlightening because you are at your natural best. I must say that you have a great voice too. The way in which you are coming out with your eloquent, or rather the eloquence with which you are talking was really, really going inside deep. I'm sure your students must be having a great time, listening to you in your classes. And we also had a splendid time, I must say, and all of us, whether we are at the middle level or the senior level or the junior level, we all had something to take away, and that is exactly what is expected out of a master class like this from a master like you. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we will see more of you in other forums as well in KMA. I'm sure you will be sharing more insights, more of your wisdom and experience to our different forums in KMA, which we have the CEOs forum, we have the student managers forum, we have the young managers forum, we have the women managers forum, the different, even the startup forum, which is being envisaged soon. So all these forums where I'm sure we can get benefited from your learnings and academic background. I'm sure we'll be troubling you more in the future, and whatever sales you've done, I'm sure it's of more value to the delegates present here, and if it helps IMK, we are also pleased about it. Thank you so much. And of course, we have a formal vote of thanks going to be proposed. But before that, to the audience present here, let me tell you, we have a slew of activities coming up in the coming days. We have another Leader Talks session coming up from yet another professor, Professor Dr. Anil Menon from the SPGN School of Management. Just watch out for the date. And we have the third masterclass of the year is coming up on 11th of February, this time from the Women Managers Forum. This is going to be on a topic of financial planning. The Women Managers Forum is actually having this masterclass done by the faculty, Mr. Ankur Maheshwari, a CEO of Equirus Wealth. He is going to do the session on February 11th. But the big event which is coming up is the Management Week celebrations, as SR rightly said, headed by our past president, is present here, Mr. S. Rajmohan Nair. The week, it's actually a Management Week has been coined by IMA at the advice of former President Abdul Kalam, and we have taken it as the Management Day for India is taken as 19th Feb, but KMA has gone one step ahead, celebrating it as a Management Week starting from 19th onwards. This time, from 19th till 25th, we have a week-long activities, which includes even a virtual solo run called the KMA Run, which is going to happen or rather flagged off on 20th. It can happen on 20th and 21st, any day of your convenience. A virtual solo run means you can run anywhere, whether it's in Cochin, Dubai, Bombay, Trivandrum, wherever it is you can run. You can clock the time and pass it on using the gadget which is there in the registration site. You can actually be a part of this run. It's basically part of our annual theme of spearheading responsible management. Being responsible to oneself is the whole idea. Be healthy, be fit, so that you can be a good manager. And then, of course, the inaugural session of the Management Week celebrations on 19th will see our IMA president, none other than Mr. Harshpati Singhania of the JK Paper Limited, the managing director of that. He will be accompanied by the Director General of IMA, Madam Rekha Sethi, and most probably a senior Kerala minister also will join them for the inauguration. So it's going to be a very power-packed inaugural session for the Management Week celebrations. Along with other sessions, we have the Professor M.V. Piley Memorial Lecture going to be delivered by yet another IMA person, that's a past IMA president and a very popular person, Mr. D. Shivakumar, the executive president, group executive president of Aditya Birla right now, the earlier PepsiCo man. D. Shivakumar is going to deliver the Professor M.V. Piley Memorial Lecture. That will be on the 24th. And we have a student management convention. I'm sure, Professor, you also will be, liking that. We have a student management convention, which is chaired by our managing committee member, Mr. Anil Verma, which will see many leaders from the corporate world as well as from the academia coming in. We have Professor Subramaniam of Vyasa University coming in for the inaugural session of the student management convention. We have leaders from
Banerjee.
Sorry.
Professor Ranjit,
sir, please. We have another, panel discussion where we have got leaders from various domains like Atul Sharma, Neetu Bansal, Robin Tommy, and a keynote session that SR was mentioning to by Professor Dr. Ranjan Banerjee of SPJ Institute of Management Research, Mumbai. Oh. And another session where we have success stories being shared by icons like the James Joseph of Jackfruit 365, Charlie, the fashion designer, Joy Sebastian, the newsmaker of Panorama. And of course, a valedictory session will be led by Dr. Saji Gopinath. And so many speakers, so many sessions, very important to all of us going to happen. So that is that student management convention. So please keep watching these notices coming from KMA in WhatsApp as well as email and be a part of that. The students as well as the managers and the seniors present here. So all together, very heavy power-packed sessions coming from KMA. Watch out for the notices and invitations. So before we wind up, let me request our Executive Director, Lieutenant Jojo Jacob, to propose the formal vote of thanks now.
Thank you, President Madhav. Members of the Managing Committee, KMA members, delegates, a very good evening to you all. Transition to the top. Surely we'll look upon. I'm sure all of us have the take-backs to see our aspirations are on the right track. Professor Venkat was able to give us guidelines into when to make the shift, what are the priorities to be kept in mind, what are the traits and attributes that we have to develop, and of course, what can be done when success eludes you. As rightly told by him, let's all plunge, rather throw ourselves into our own spheres of work to come out successful. Thank you, Professor Venkat, for the gripping the audience till the end and for an excellent session. On behalf of the Managing Committee and the entire delegates, we thank you for taking your time out for this wonderful session. Thank you, Program Committee Chair, Past President S.R. Nair, for yet another fantastic session. Thank you, delegates. Without you, this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you all. Over to you, President.
Thank you, Executive Director, Lieutenant George. Yes, Professor, wanted to say something?
No, I just want to say I'm overwhelmed with the support and the love that you've shown me. KMA is something which goes, way beyond. My dad used to be very closely associated with KMA. He still gets all those mailers. And beyond that, I grew up in Kerala, and for me, it gives me no greater joy than being here. Like I said, I never dreamt that I would be an academic and come back to these shores. And I just, thank Almighty that I've been given this opportunity. But very practically, I thank KMA. Thank you for giving me the stage. Such a phenomenal organization, and we'll be so glad, personal as well as an institutional capacity, to be working with you in which way. I wish the programs that you mentioned are phenomenal, and I would be glad to be part of them, and glad to be engaging and learning from that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, everyone, for joining as well from my side.
It's mutual that we had you with us. See, here is a memento which will be coming your way. It's not a virtual one, though. The photograph of the memento will be shown here, which will come to you physically by courier. This is a proof of you being here. This is a memento of a photograph of you delivering the masterclass today. So this is our signature memento of which will come your way.
Real time memento.
Real-time one. So thank you so much once again, and it was wonderful having you here. And we look forward to hearing from you again in the future at the suitable forums. And thank you very much. And thank you, audience. You are wonderful.
Thank you.
Registering.
Thank you. Thank you.